Oh. Oh. There we go. Sorry guys, hold on one second. Okay, I'm here. Is this working? Am I heard? Does it? It looks like it's working. Good. I think it's working. Sorry for this delay, guys. I was trying to get sponsorship setup stuff before I went live. I don't know if it's working or not. We'll see. Crap. Just gonna let me. Hold on. We're gonna try this. I don't know how well this is gonna work, but we're gonna go with it today. Okay, so yeah, hobby holders really been kind of a sponsor for a while. They're a fantastic kit. The guy who owns hobby holder is just amazing. Love him. He's been super nice. Yeah, I've had a hobby holder about as long as you can have a hobby holder. I have like one of the original ones here where it's still like half printed out instead of cast. I don't know where that guy got off to. So yeah, I think there's something a little wrong with the sponsor thing, but I don't know. The dog father, no problem. Well, thanks for hanging out at all. I appreciate any hanging out. It makes it a lot easier, to be honest, when people hang out. The time just goes by a lot faster. Like when you're just like chilling here painting like all by your lonesome, I'm not gonna lie, like that gets a little rough. I think we're gonna do. Can I do that? What's that? How about if we do something like that? Yeah, when all you're doing is painting and it's like just you, like yeah, I yeah, it's a little rough. I think I know what's happened here. I'm trying to figure out. Do I have why is it still saying there's okay. Yeah, I'm mostly happy with the dragon. The fire's a little too orange for me at this point, so I'm gonna put back in a little bit of whites. And then I need to kind of highlight the scales a little bit in a different way to show it. But I don't know how much time we're really gonna spend on that aspect today, because it's mostly done, and I don't know that I want to spend the time on stream to do that. So we're going to focus largely on the eyes and just kind of finishing details to get him to the point that we can take pictures of him. So yeah, we'll see. So part of it, I started doing some airbrush work in here on some of the OSL and stuff like that, and I was trying out the 0.15 needle for the Infinity, because that's what Angel Giraldes uses, and that's kind of what he recommends. I don't know that I'm a fan. Like, that thing was just so finicky. Like, it was one of those things, I was trying it because it was so highly recommended by him that I was like, I'll try it. But then, like, the more I used it, the more I was like, this thing is just like, there's just not a good advantage for me over like the 0.4, where I feel like I still have a lot of control on the 0.4, but it doesn't like clog at the drop of a hat, which is what I felt like the 0.1 did. Like, I was constantly having to clear the 0.1. Okay, so we're going to work on the eyes today. These eyes need to be really bright. They're set kind of far back in the head. And if you look, I got a little bit down kind of in his socket where we don't want it, that's fine, because when you've got well sculpted eyes, what you can kind of do is you can put in a nice bright color like this, right? And then if you run a little bit of wash over the area, it's going to help define the socket a lot more. What you just want to do is make sure the trick really only works with well-defined sockets. If the socket itself is not super defined, it's not going to work well. If it's like a real shallow socket, it can even work on 28mm miniatures too. Like if you've got a really well-defined eyeball, then it'll work well to just clean it up a little bit that the wash wouldn't handle. Anywhere that I just got really outside the lines here. One thing that we're not actually painting the eyes white, but because they're going to be like a really bright green, like we're going to go like fluorescent colors almost, because we really want them to pop, then we need to start off with really bright colors. If we started off really dark and we tried to put these really fluorescent colors above them, it just would not work. So we put down a little bit of light yellow first, and then we're just going to take some white and just make sure we get good and tight in the middle there. Am I on camera okay? I think I am. Yeah. We can zoom in a little bit probably for this part. Let me see what's the best way to now there's audio. Dang it. Alright, I gotta remember that. Is there audio now? There should be audio now. Doop doop doop. Yep. Okay. I know what happened. I switched scenes in it. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I gotta think about that. I might have to come up with a better way to do that then. I'll have to think about that. Okay. Alright. So now what we want to do is we want to work on our green. And we're just going to work with some of these colors and some yellows. So yeah, there's certain parts on the fire I don't really love. Overall, I mean, the nice thing is it looks like fire. Like nobody's gonna like, even if it's not the best, most realistic fire ever, especially on camera, like it really reads as fire. So that's good at least, which is, you know, kind of the goal of painting it. So we just want all these colors in the eye really need to pop. And thanks, man. Alrighty, and then I'm gonna put some of this fluorescent down. Then I think we're gonna put some of our yellow green, which is a real bright green, down too. And all we want to do is make the eye really bright, and then we'll figure out what kind of an iris we're gonna put in the middle of it. Which I'll tell you right now is gonna be a pain to do down in there. Oh, but you know what? I said we were gonna wash it to help define it, and I think I'm gonna do that still. So we're gonna take something like, trying to think about what I want to throw as a wash down in the eyelid, because it'll just help give it definition in a very cheater way. You know what? We're gonna use, considering we got greens and reds and everything, I think we're gonna use, yeah, we're gonna use some purple as a wash. And it should just help make an outline, and we'll pull it off the tops as it dries. It should dry pretty quickly, hopefully. We're going to add 1 drop of flow improver to help make sure that it settles down and cracks, because flow improver is a surface tension reducer. So it's going to mean that it causes it to flow down and cracks better and away from the high points of the eyeball. And we're just going to do this. And it's just going to help give us a real nice base to start with here. Okay. Depending on how it goes, we might yet do that one more time towards the end, but it really helps create that dark line around the outside of the eyeball. It shouldn't take too long to dry. I tried to wick some off the corner and it wicked too much of it off. We're just going to give that just a moment there. Look around, see if there's anything else we kind of need to handle while we're... Oh, I saw a big white. We're going to play around and see if we can... What I'd really like to do is get some lighter colors in the fire in certain places. So like, I'd really love, you know, kind of, what we need to do though is make sure we're dragging this way. Yeah. Just kind of, what happens is when we got all the glazes and everything, we lost a little bit of what we wanted to be lighter parts in there. So we just need to kind of add them back. And we'll just do that. We don't want it to be even all over. But yeah, that little bit right there is just adding a lot. We want to make sure that we're going down, not up. Because if we go up, then the lighter part, because the most paint's going to be where we end the brush, right? And we want to make sure that our fire is warmer inside and towards the bottom, or is brighter inside and towards the bottom. So that means we got to make sure that our brush stroke ends down, right? We're just kind of messing with this whilst we wait for the whatchamacallit, the wash to dry. Once that wash is good and dry, we will just start tackling some of that. And what we're trying to do right now is just hit this inside bits just to give it a little brighter feel, right? Then right. I think that'll help too. Yeah. I think that'll help. Some of these lighter bits. And then I think what's hurting too is I ended up with this dark line from when we washed the scales. And I think that's hurting the effect too. Because this is really like where it should be brightest. But we've introduced this dark line down here that kind of ruins the effect. So we'll see. I'm not entirely sure how much I'm going to put into doing this, but I think I've discovered that this is an option if I want to take this time, that it will give me the effect that I'm looking. I'm just taking a lighter color and just kind of working it into the innermost parts. So yeah. Alright, our wash should be settled on the eyes. Okay. So we're gonna take some of this is a jade, and we're gonna make that. We're gonna mix some of the fluorescent. We want these eyes to really pop, and that fluorescent is just gonna make everything to do with this eye just really pop. Trying to make sure I stay on camera here for you guys. As long as we generally stay in the area here, we're good. We don't really have to worry too much if we go outside a little bit, because it's such a well-defined eye that it'll be easy to clean up. So see how that's going to pop against that? It's just going to be like kablam! Now we got to try to get down in here. This is the one. Yeah, okay. By that. Okay. What we'll do is we're going to mix a little bit more of this green, a little bit more of this, and then come back in more towards the middle. We want the outside to stay a little darker. We want to try to give it some three-dimensionality. That is still wet right there. Okay. We're going to take just some of this right here. We're gonna work it up just in the middle. We're gonna take some of this warm yellow, mix it with some of that green. We're gonna put it like that. We're just working it up, trying to. Hey, oh, you know what? That camera goes in the way, doesn't it? Somebody followed. Thank you so much for the follow. I gotta figure out where to put everything. All right, let's try that right there. This over here. There we go. That'll work. Sure. Yeah. Okay. And we're just gonna come back in. We just wanna make sure that that middle is lighter, but not too light. And come back over to this side, work this a little bit more. We're just trying to introduce really bright green into the eye. And we really kind of need to decide what kind of pupil, if any, we want. This might be a dragon where it makes sense just to have a really kind of like a glowing eye. I don't know. I think I like it. It's certainly getting there. Anybody else painted dragons that they really like? I was mentioning this last time, but it's kind of funny, like, somehow I got known for dragons. Like, someone said, "Oh, you're the dragon guy," and I was like, I barely ever paint dragons. I think it's because I put out a tutorial on how to do dragon scales real easy. Thank you so much, Brutes Monkey. I appreciate that. That's what was over there. I knew there was something there. That'll work. Sure. Thank you so much. Follows there really help me to be able to keep doing awesome content. I have this little bitty spot in the eye that like just refuses to be covered up. Like, I'm not exactly sure why. So I'm going to take some of our straight jade because it's a little dot of orange. Okay, and then hopefully that should be covered up then. I swear there's supposed to be timers going. I don't understand. Sometimes Twitch like just hates me, guys. It's like, you don't actually need all that stuff you spend all that time setting up. Why would I need that? Okay. We're getting close on our eyes here. Alright, while we're waiting to make sure that the eyes are fully dry and set, what we need to do is kind of define these teeth a little bit more. They, there's not good definition between them, so we need a real thin something to kind of go between them. So I'm thinking like a sepia ink or something like that, or yeah, how about a sepia? Just so that we can well, thanks, man. Much appreciated. Brutes monkeys. Much, much, much appreciated. So what we're going to attempt to do now is just go between the teeth here. And just help with some separation. Separation is one of those things that is way more important than is given credit. Like when you have elements that kind of blend together, it shouldn't. Like this whole row of teeth there looks like it's just one kind of thing, and it really shouldn't look that way. So what we need to do is just separate out the teeth. See how it's instantly starting to pick up more definition on each tooth? All we're doing. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this. We're going to do that. What they really need is some additional shading at the top of the tooth as well. So we might take a look at that. Let's see if we can do that. This should be a good color for that. So we're just going to take right near the top of these teeth, and you want to drag up. And all it's going to do, most of his bottom teeth we didn't need to do the separation that we did, but there's a few of them down here that need a little bit. Okay. Then we're just going to take this is a good thing for inks because they're semi-transparent, which means it's going to help shade the area a little bit, but it gives us a little bit of wiggle room if something goes up. What's up, S. Longberry? What's cracking, man? Inks give us a little bit more wiggle room for stuff like this than a paint, because the inks are somewhat transparent. So we're going to naturally get a little bit of shading with them that we wouldn't get from straight paint. You can see now the teeth look considerably better. They're much more defined, right? So, and then what we can do with the teeth as well is we can add a little bit more of a highlight to them. They're pretty. Let's see, is this? Yeah, there we go. Let's just kind of add a few. Teeth like to have some texture, right? So all we're doing is just a few little strokes. All I did was take some of the light yellow that we had on the palette, mix it with just a little bit of the sepia that we already had out, and just created kind of a real subtle highlight color. Right? It's not drastic. We don't want to undo all of our hard work so far. All we're trying to do is just add a little bit more visual interest on things. If you've got questions, if you've got anything that you're working on and want to show off, feel free to. This is a very friendly channel for getting feedback or just hanging out and talking, whatever you want to do. In a moment, I think we're going to take a break and do a little unboxing of something, see what it looks like. I just got in a new piece from Abyssal Soul. It's a larger piece. It's kind of a outside of something that I normally would paint, but I think it'll be fun. We need to take the eyes a little brighter still. think we're done on the teeth, though. I think the teeth, they work. I think I'm good with that. We really want that eye to pop, and I don't know, it's not quite getting there like I want. It's not bad. It just fighting me for some reason. I think we're going to take a little bit of our white, mix it in with a little bit of our fluorescent, and that should kick it up a notch in a hurry. I'm just going to kind of stipple it in there. Might not have been enough white. Oh yeah, that's helping. Okay. If you're watching, vote on whether or not we should leave the eyes kind of bright and glowy or whether we should add a pupil. Go ahead and just let me know what you think if you're watching, and then we can kind of decide. Whilst we're doing that, what do you say we unbox this thing? Let's take a look. This is Abyssal Soul. We're going to be putting this together at some point. I love custom boxes and stuff like this. I love when there's great art, because like this isn't a particularly cheap piece. Yeah, something like a cat-like pupil might work well. I'll have to look up some reference photos to make sense. I love when we've got like nice boxes that say that justify the enormous cost for some of these custom resin miniatures. So this is the Abyssal Soul. If you're not familiar with Fausto, he does some great work, like both managing the sculpts here and painting. He does some absolutely phenomenal work. Yeah, and then this is a picture of their studio paint of the miniature in question that's been ordered. So yeah, I mean, that's ridiculous, right? That's crazy awesome. Yeah, so that's the miniature. It's a larger piece. I think it's a 7. Does it say? I think it's a 75. It's either 75 or 90 millimeter scale. So good box. I like the fact that they included an art card here, because what that means is if I choose to look at this for reference some, I can, what I'll often do is I'll sticky tack it up somewhere on my light or somewhere like that. I like doing that. I like doing that rather than having it up on the monitor. Sometimes I'll have stuff up on the monitor, but I don't know. So well wrapped in the thing here. Okay. Looks like we got 2 packages of stuff. After we finish doing this, we will go back and finish the eye, and then we'll decide what else we're going to do. So let's take a look at this, and let's see how the castings look. We're just going to do this, because I got this in today, and we're just going to take a look at it here. Okay, so this is resin. So we've got this kind of thing here, which is a leftover sprue bit from the resin. Like, I get that this is inevitable and you have to have this. I just, like, these are such a pain to get rid of, especially in a corner like this. Like, I'm thinking, like, I'm gonna have to come at it and very gently shave it in this direction. Because right now, you know, if I put that, there's obviously that kind of gap there. I'm doing that. Looks like this is probably a good fit. No, it needs a little work. I'm not 100% sure why. It might be this. We do have a mold line there. You're always going to have mold line. Mold lines aren't the end of the world. And neither is this, because this is entirely somewhere where it's not going to be visible. We just have to work a little bit to get it at the end. The part that I really hate on some of the resin casters is when you've got a piece that's not a mold line, but where it's like offset, because then there's not a great way to deal with that. And it looks like we don't have that. And we don't have any really obvious mold lines on kind of the core sculpt itself, which is really nice. So Brute Monkey, you looked at this and decided you should stick to Reaper until you get a bit better at painting. So, I don't know. Because I thought that same kind of thing for a while. And I'll tell you right now, I learned so much doing my first larger scale nice piece than I did painting a lot of Reaper figs over and over again. Because I think there's a certain mentality when you're painting Reaper that, like, it's just a Reaper fig. I don't have to do a nice job. And so I think you kind of under credit yourself, and inevitably you're not doing your best work all the time because of that. Like, I feel like you oftentimes could be doing better work if you had a nicer piece. But I don't know. It just totally depends. So I will say a lot of people learn a lot doing nicer pieces. Let's take a look at what else we got here, and then we will get back to El Dragon. Okay. So it looks like we have a couple of different hand options here, which I seem to remember. There's one which is like the axe. When we got something like this, right? Yeah. Okay. So that I don't especially love. That's not keyed at all, or if, no. So I'm gonna have to clean that off, and then this is not keyed at all. So I'm gonna have to kind of get this in the right position. So don't love that. This looks like it goes back here. Again though, like, that's a really fiddly. I think that'll be fine. Yeah, what is it? Goes like this, really? I guess so. Yeah, okay, that fits in there nicely. So no complaints there. There's an arrow that can kind of go in the base, it looks like. It was fairly cheap. Where'd you get it from? Minotaur bus coming from Europe. Europe's a big place. Where'd you get it from? So it looks like there's a lot of this sprue that I'm gonna have to clean up. That's on the glue joints. So if I'm gonna get a good fit on stuff, it's gonna be a lot of that. So what I recommend when you're doing resin, when you're cleaning up resin, you want to wear a mask because resin dust is a major lung irritant, and theoretically there's all sorts of like cancer warnings and all sorts of stuff like that. I meant site, silly. Like what site did you get your bust from? Or yeah, your Minotaur bust. So I really like these files. These are like the cheap Harbor Freight. I think they were $3 literally. And like this file is the Army Painter one and is much more expensive than this file, which is pretty much the same thing, only this file is actually a little smaller, which is more appropriate for hobby use. So if anything, this file is better than this file, and this file was a fraction of the price of this file. So, so yeah, I really like these files, but what you'll want to do trying to get this stuff off is basically you're going to very carefully want to start sanding, cutting, getting all of that stuff as flush as you can get it, so that everything fits really nice. You want to get everything fit as tight and nice as you can before you glue anything. Don't glue something and then try to get it to fit. Try to get other stuff to fit, because what happens is if you've already glued something, you may put too much pressure on an area when you're trying to sand something. So get everything to fit first, dry fit, and then work on 3D print. Nice. Very cool. Very, very cool. You couldn't have a 3D print done in the state? Like, are you from the States? Like, sure, I know tons of guys that'll 3D print it for you here in the States. Like, gracious. White Wolf Tavern, huh? Cool. Well, I look forward to it. Make sure you send me a pic or something on the Facebook page. Like, would love to see some work. So anyway, that's that. I thought we'd take a break for a moment and look at that. Oh, you know what? Let's look at it in scale real quick. Let's take kind of a scale. Here we go. Let's just do this real quick so that you can understand size. So this is an Artisan Guild, which is like a 32 millimeter figure. This is this guy. So he is considerably larger. Think of this as having a larger canvas to paint on. Okay, and if you look, this figure is a huge amount of skin. So if you ever want to learn how to paint skin, that is kind of weird. Huh. Yeah, that's kind of weird for a 3D print guy to make. Like, he needs a guy in the States that he trusts. Like, yeah, that's weird. Huh. Weird. I'll have to look up White Wolf Tavern. See if I can get this back in here without me feeling like I'm gonna break something. It's a lot of paper. There we go. Hopefully. One thing I don't like about resin is, you know, they're fairly fragile. Now I don't understand why the timer bot. I don't understand why the bot takes like 45 minutes to kick on. It's so strange to me, but it did that last time too. The hair models that have the Academy line, honestly, I don't know. All right, we're gonna give the eye a glaze of this fluorescent. The fluorescents do not cover well, so they're not gonna do really much more than do that. I don't know anything. I don't know that I've. Oh, the Academy line where it's like learn to paint stuff. Like it's like intentionally supposed to be a bust that's good to learn on. I don't know, but who's got one? What's his name? Super famous painter. Gosh. There's one super famous painter who came out with his own set of busts specifically for learning on and stuff like that. Why can't I think of his name? His name is... I don't remember. I give up. No, I think Squidmar might have recently, though. Didn't he? That's not who I'm thinking of. Banshee. Banshee came out with Anonymous 2.0, stuff like that. I think he might have been one of the first to kind of do that concept where he's like, here's a sculpt where the whole idea is it's good to learn on, and it's easy if you want to learn sculpting too to kind of modify as well. It wasn't just a painting thing. Okay. We are going to look up real quick and see if we can find some pics of dragon and cat eyes and kind of see how we want to do that. So, ooh, these are some good ones. I'm gonna throw them up on the stream here. We'll talk. What does a cat eye look like compared to what I just saw? Let me see. Cat eye. Okay, cat eye and my dragon eye pics look extremely close. And then what's somebody said an alligator eye? Okay, those all look very similar, but I'll throw an alligator one up too. I really like that, actually. I don't know that it would work well in this scale, but we'll throw it up. Gator. Alrighty. Dragon. Right, here's a dragon eye. And then... Oop. This is a gator eye. They're very close. I think there's a slight difference in the pupil shape, but I'm not even sure that we would see it at this scale. Well, this has this kind of bright center and then a black versus just the black. Um, One thing I do think both of them, I think I'm going to add, well, we'll do that at the end. All right, do we like the alligator? Do we like the bottom or the top eye better? I can go either way. What do we think? Bottom or top? White Wolf Tavern. Squidmar's an interesting guy. Like, he's kind of, really kind of new to the whole thing, but really does great video. The thing with his videos and Miniac videos and stuff like that is they are easily, it's a tremendous amount of effort to put that much work into a video. Like, because they're whole productions. It's not just painting. He's got to have hours and hours and hours of time editing video just as much as he has painting and actually like shooting the video. Like, whew, that's so much work. Like, good gracious. But he's making bank at it. And yeah. All right, so obviously the bottom one. All right. Bottom one it is. All right, so we're going to leave this up as reference here. All right, so what we need then is probably we need a lighter middle, and then we want to come back in with a black line in the middle of it, right? Oh, I was off. There we go. Okay, so we're sketching in kind of that lighter part there, right? And then not quite white though, so if we glaze over it, I'm going to take just a little bit of that white away. Yeah, I think I'm good with that. We definitely need, the eye is too uniform in color right now. We're going to add some darker tones around the outside. Okay. We're going to make sure that we kind of reinforce. I'm just going to kind of stipple in a few lighter colors right in there. It's going to be subtle. Subtle is the name of the game here. Yeah, if you're not familiar with the giveaway, you definitely want to go check out the Facebook page. We are giving away 2 awesome 3D prints, potentially. 2 awesome figures. And if you're a subscriber and you win, then you have the choice of having it painted by me, if that's something you would enjoy. All right, we're going to try. This is going to be the tricky one, getting these kind of details, because I'm like painting in a tunnel. Wow, I think I actually got that. I am really surprised. You already won, don't even try. We're going to reinforce this with a little bit. I lost a little bit of the intensity that I want. Okay. Every once in a while, I don't know if you guys can see it, you'll get yeah, you can't. There's a little tiny white speck on the brush, and that is the most annoying thing. It's a little tiny piece of paint that dries on the very tip. Man, that'll knock your precision off faster than anything else, I swear. Like, always the worst thing when you've got that little tiny dot, right? All right, we're going to try to put the black now in the middle of the white. Oh, too much black. For black, when I need to be real precise, I find mixing black paint and black ink allows me to be super precise. So black ink, either one alone isn't as good as both of them together. Is the screen too cluttered for anybody? I've been trying to find the right balance of stuff to have on the screen besides stuff that I'm painting. Okay, good. Good. Oh, you know what? I put that right over where my alert box is going to be, but you know what? What we will do, we will, just a second. Where's my alert box? All right, just in case. All right. Did some deep cleaning and bit of pruning on a few wonky sable hairs. Yep. All right. But what we're going to try to do, normally this is where I would definitely have some magnification on. But every time I try to do magnification on camera, it does not go well. So you guys are catching me freehanding. Okay, so we're getting there. It's not as precise as I want it. Yeah, I find that paint alone dries a little too quick when you're trying to do these fine black detail work. And ink alone for it is a little too runny. But both of them together work out fairly well. I'm liking that. I'm digging it. We're going to try to add just a little bit of white right in here. Okay. Yeah, I dig that. About the only thing we need to do is shade the eyeball a little bit better, and then I think we'll do that. We'll add a reflection and call that good. So now we got to come over here and kind of do the same thing. This is the part where I'm going to be utterly shocked if I don't mess up. I got it a little thicker than I needed, but not much. I must be in a much more stable position there than I think I am. Just trying to touch up our white outline here. These little kind of details, like really eyes that pop and stuff like that, really help make a mini. They really kick it from meh to really the next level. When you tell me that you don't paint eyes because they're like, you'd never see it anyways on that scale and stuff like that, it's like, I mean, that may be technically true, but like, you're just really selling the character of the mini short, then, in my opinion. Okay. So that's kind of the look we got there. I think what I want to do though is shade the eyeball a little bit more. Like, I feel like the depth is a little too flat. So we're just going to try to add some deeper shadows in here. Hopefully without ruining things, huh? And it's going to be real subtle. Like, it's not going to be anything where somebody's like, oh my gosh, that dramatically... Okay. Yeah, I think that works. This is another thing where you want to make sure your brush direction is working with you, not against you. We're working with kind of a real dark jade, and I'm pulling towards the edge of the eyeball. So see, I'm going this way from the outside, from the inside out. If I went another direction, then I would leave more paint in the middle of the eyeball, and that's not what we want. All right, I think I'm good with that eyeball. Questions, comments? Do we hate it? Do we love it? Are we like, that's the dumbest thing ever? I'm gonna highlight the areas around the eyelid just a little bit better, or the eyelid itself, just to bump up just a little bit. We really want to draw attention to this eyelid, right? Okay. Over here, I'm going to do something similar here. The one thing that we kind of need here, this other one, and you guys probably can't see this. Yeah, I agree. I think the eyelid was a good choice. We need to really define his eyelid from his eye color. There's not much of a shadow there, and I'm just going to take some black and try to, this is where I could really screw it up, and just try to draw just a real simple line. There we go. Hey, I did it. Woohoo! And all I did was help define the green from the eyelid. The only other thing that we might do is make the black part bigger. Like, you could definitely support it bigger, but I think it being this kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Smaller people makes him look more angry, which is what we want on a figure like this. I think we might. Problem is, this one is technically in the right spot. But the eyeball itself is just in such a weird place right there. Like, it feels like it's too far back. It's not. But it just feels like it is. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and add a little specular highlight in both eyes. This is just a little dot of white. Helps sell it. There we go. One second, and we'll zoom in here and get you guys a better look at it. Alright, I think I'm happy with that. What do we think? Are we good with that? Yeah, I'm fine with that. Sweet. At this point, I might tweak the fire a little bit, but mostly that's going to be off cam because I need a level of precision to do that I just can't do on cam. I don't know, is there anything else we feel like? I don't love the nostrils here. So we might tweak the nostrils a little bit. I don't know. Okay. Oh yeah. Let's I feel like the nostrils need to be kind of like a different color or something. Like, I don't know. I feel like his face is too uniform and I want something to like set some of it off a little bit. Let's see what happens if we work some different colors into his nostrils here. So we're going to take a little bit of our yellow here. Not going to be drastic, but hopefully it'll do what I want. We really need to give him some more things to look at in his face. He's kind of boring in the face right now. And subtle is fine. It just needs to... He's got like 2 sets of nostrils. It's kind of weird. Like he's got like these big honking things, and then he's got like these smaller things. Maybe like for fire, like one is like the intake valve, and one is the fire breathing valve. I don't know. Kind of weird, right? Oh, I'm sorry. Somebody asked what model it is. Boots Monkey. If you type exclamation point fig, it'll tell you what model it is. Yeah. So exclamation point fig, it'll tell you where to get it, stuff like that. It's a Kickstarter fig though, so it's not available yet. This is gonna be featured on that. So okay, I think we're getting about where I want to here, and then what we'll do is we'll glaze this over so it ties in a little better with the rest, but it's still going to be kind of a feature, right? So what we'll do is we'll just make a glaze out of this yellow and this fire here real quick. And we'll hit it with that, and it'll mesh back in a little better. Because it stands out now, but it's a little strong. There we go. Alright, the other thing we need to do. We've got to handle this line that goes all the way around it, because unfortunately, it is not very consistent. Some places it's brown, some places it's red, and we need it to be more consistent. So we're gonna make it all brown because it's mostly brown already. It kind of doesn't matter which way we went, it just needs to be kind of consistent. So we're just gonna shift it all one direction. Right? So this is just one of those details that we just want to make sure we get. That link to the Kickstarter campaign. Not sure what else is going to be on it, but I know James Wapple is also painting a couple of figs for it, and if he's doing them, you can guarantee that they're going to be just amazing, right? James just does incredible stuff. We're just going through here, making sure that anywhere we've got this line, we're just being consistent with it. And if it's got kind of a red tone, that's okay. We don't want to create some sort of stark division here. We just need it to be consistent. So we're good here. We're not good up there. I mean, this is going to need a second coat. This is like the unsexy part of doing a dragon. It's like all the other little details, right? It's like painting teeth and painting fire and painting all that is like the sexy part of dragons. And painting the rest of it is kind of like, eh. I forgot to put music on for myself. I've started wearing headphones while I stream. That's been helping. I forgot to wear them this time. There's so many kind of spiky bits on this. Sharp points. I've really been trying to avoid touching the model unless I just have to, which is why it's mounted on this plinth. Well, this holder, rather. Because there's just so many spiky points that eventually the paint's going to rub off of one of them if I hold it by it. So I know a lot of people, when they have a figure this big, they tend to hold it. Like, that's cool, but like, I don't know, maybe I'm just not that gentle. Maybe other people are more gentle. Like, I just can't do that. Like, every time I've ever tried to do that, it just does not go well. Okay. Like I said, we're just going around and making this edge consistent. Then what we'll do is we'll come back with a slightly lighter shade and we'll highlight some of the ridges and pops and stuff like that. Doesn't have to be dramatic for this. This isn't what you would call a feature, where somebody's going to be like, oh my gosh, like the ridge around his scales is, not superbly highlighted. Oh no. Just needs to be, somewhat. Okay, I think we're probably at that point where we're just going to mix in a little bit. Just mixed in. I think I grabbed the yellow there. Might be too much. Yeah, it's a little strong. And we're just going to kind of just catch our top points here. It's going to be real subtle. That's okay. We're just going to try to work our way around the model. Is there anything somebody's looking at that they're like, I really don't like the way blank was done? Not saying I'll necessarily change it, but if you hate something, feel free to speak up now that I have asked. Like, that's not a free invitation to do that anytime. But since I'm asking, feel free to step up and let me know. I am more than willing to address something. The other day, I was painting a fig and another painter got on and he's like, just so you know, your pants there make him look like he's pantsless because the pants are too close to the color of the skin. And it was one of those like, oh, you're right. They surely are. And it's too much. And those kind of things help. Like sometimes you get so close that you don't really see those things. If you're watching and you've painted a dragon, feel free to share a picture, a link in the chat of the dragon. It's always nice to see other people's work. We're just highlighting these to give them more depth is the idea, right? We want these to appear to actually be kind of undulating a little bit. Such a good word, undulating. The base, I don't think this dragon has a base that I'm going to do, to be honest with you. Like, I'm just not sure that I'm going to do a base for it. I don't know. It kind of... I don't know. Because it stands on its own pretty fine. And doing a base for this thing would just be enormous and huge. I'm just not entirely convinced I'm gonna do one. Yeah, yeah, like it sits flat, perfectly fine. So I think we're about done with this, guys. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna sit, you know, see how you can see it kind of sits flat like that, right? So I've been debating on the best picture angle. I think that's the best picture angle. What do you guys think? I think that's like the winning angle because you really see that dragon eye, and you see scales, and you see fire, and you see the belly. Whereas I think this angle, like you see that this is a little more complex, but it really, the face is kind of off. Thanks, the Fistinos. Much appreciated. But I don't think you get as much as the face. I think this is kind of the magic angle, I think. Like this. Yeah, I think you lose the face from the other side too. And I think straight on, that's kind of a neat angle too. You don't see the eyes, but you really get a sense of the shape of the body. That's kind of cool too. If you want a body, I think that might be the best one. I always got to think about this when I'm taking pictures. Like if I'm going to submit pictures and everything, like what angles do I want to make sure I capture? And I think I want to make sure I get this one. And then I think if I was going to do two angles, I think it'd be that one and this one. I think that's what I would do. All right, I think we're probably done painting that guy. You know what? Since I've still got some time here, why don't we take a look? Face is almost hidden. I agree. Why don't we take a look at this guy's brother? He has a water dragon brother, and we can start doing some assembly on him, huh? Because he's going to need some work for assembly, I believe. He's a little bit smaller. Due to the shape of him on the printer, he just couldn't be printed too much larger. He still has a lot of work left on him, though. So, because he still needs to be put together, and he still needs a lot of support marks cleaned off. So we can start working on that for a few minutes here. I already cleaned some support marks off because before this one or the other one. So yeah, honestly, they're both like super cool looking dragons. So this is gonna be like a water dragon. So which is nice because I'm not gonna have to do a ridiculous amount of fire again, right? So we're just gonna take. I need a new blade here. Huh? I think I accidentally glued my blade holder shut. Oh my gosh. So on this thing, you pull out like this, fold down, and the blade comes out. I think I glued it shut. This is glue debonder. If you don't have any of this, it works really well. I'm not going to say it works 100% of the time, but there's definitely been some times where I really would have been hosed without it. Yep, look at that. Worked right. Boom. Glue debonder for the win. Yeah, that was glued. Look at that. Look at that orange. That was literally glued shut. Did it break? Oh my gosh, it broke. Oh, that sucks. Yeah, I got glue all over that somehow. I may have to replace this guy because that guy doesn't lock anymore. That sucks for getting glue all over that. I have many 3D printers. At this point, I have 2 FDM printers. I have an Ender 3 and Ender 5, and then I have one which is a Mars for resin, and then I have the new Sonic Mini 4K, which is supposed to be a higher resolution, faster printer than the Mars. We'll see how that goes. That sucks. I can't believe I got glue all over that. That's cute. You have to draw the line somewhere. I'll tell you right now, don't draw it on a 3D printer. They're amazing. Not gonna lie, 3D printers are like right now in the hobby, like you can kind of not have a 3D printer. I'll tell you right now, in 5 years from now, if you don't have a 3D printer, and you're doing like mini painting, it's gonna be crazy. Like there's so many amazing artists, sculptors doing 3D work that are putting a lot of the casting companies, ones that are casting minis to shame. And the STL price is good right now. It's almost too good. And yeah, the 3D printing community is super supportive. I'm not going to say they're without issue, but there's this one nub on this guy that I was hoping, yeah, there we go. Yeah, so the 3D printing community is just super awesome. Like, I honestly can't say enough good things about the 3D printing community. I think if Jacob is still on here, he's big in the 3D printing community. Your wife will only kill you if she finds out, man. Totally joking. Totally joking. You should not hide a 3D printer for your wife. You just gotta tell her you quote won it, right? I'm joking. But yeah, the sculptors that are just putting out, we might just do that as texture, I think. I don't know. It's got a lot of bumps there that I'm not sure whether or not they are 3D support marks or if they're supposed to be like that. I think we will leave them there and say that they're supposed to be like that. All these guys. Because if that's not supposed to be like that, that's probably the worst I've ever seen 3D print marks get left on a resin print. So we're going to say that they're supposed to be there. I thought I had a crap ton of support marks to clean up. I'm just not seeing that many. Like, I'm not sure why. The only thing that I really don't like about this particular print that I got is I'd have to go back and look at the STL. I'm not sure if this is my fault at some point or if it's in the STL, but the key and this part does not match up well. This is not square to match up with that. I've got to decide exactly what I'm going to do about that. Then I'll tell you right now, one of the best things about 3D printing compared to cast minis, there's no mold lines. You're cleaning off a few support marks where you find them and stuff like that, and you can get some of these support marks down to just virtually nothing, guys. But you're never going to have a support mark running like through a hairline, which is, you know, a big problem on a cast mini. When you've got a support mark that runs, you know, entirely through your hair, like, it's a pain in the butt to get rid of. That's like a legit real problem, right? Your wallet crying. Yeah, they're really not that expensive. Like, I would say all in, resin, printer, cleanup supplies, everything you need to get going for resin, high quality resin printers with one of like what's really the first generation printers, which is like a Mars or an Anycubic Photon or something like that. I would say realistically under 350. You could probably do it a little cheaper, but by the time you get, you know, a reasonable amount of resin, you know, some sort of anything, whatever. So here's the deal. There's resin printers and there's FDM printers. FDM are the ones, so resin, the way resin works is there's a, trying to think about if I've got a good way. Yeah, okay. So here we go. No. Okay, so there's a light coming up. There's a UV light like this. Okay, coming up. And then there's a screen right here that blocks a certain amount of the UV light. And then there's a vat of resin up here. Okay, and what happens is there's a plate sitting in the vat of resin, and it exposes one layer of this resin at a time that's photosensitive, and then moves up very, very slightly and exposes the next and exposes. So it slowly builds the entire plate of resin, one tiny layer at a time, based on the light that the screen is not blocking out from beneath. Okay, so that's how a resin printer works. A FDM printer is literally taking hot plastic on a nozzle and like drawing each layer, raises it up a little bit, draws the next layer, and so either the platform is lowering or the printer is raising up. And right now there's kind of two big differences between resin and FDM printing. Three big differences, I would say. Resin is much finer scale, so it's the lines. You're not going to get any appreciable lines. If you look super close on some of the resin prints, you can see lines, but like this is a print, like you're not seeing any noticeable lines there. And then the other thing about FDM is it's not very feasible to do larger stuff on FDM for the most part, because right now the screens are still much smaller than an FDM printing bed for the most part. Some of that's starting to kind of change if you're willing to spend enough money. You can get larger scale FDM printers that are starting to come way down in price. But then, you know, if you want to print, let's say you want to print a set of terrain tiles, which is real common in FDM, like it would cost you way more money, 10 times more money to print these high scale resin, high resolution resin than it would be to FDM. And really it's just terrain. Like it doesn't have a lot of detail to begin with. It's kind of wasted. So generally right now, if you want to print terrain, if you're looking to do buildings and stuff like that, it's way better to get FDM. If you're going to print miniatures, it's way better to get resin. And that hasn't quite changed yet. There's some evidence that might change in the future if resin costs drop enough and the build plates get large enough. But right now, I can't recommend resin printing buildings. It's just too costly. I'm just going through right now and trying to find all the little support marks. I think I've got most of them. What inevitably happens on this though is I will find a lot more once I get it primed, because I zenithal prime and it makes everything just pop out a lot more. But the advantage to this particular one is all of these support marks were underneath on this. So if you don't know about 3D printing, you get to choose how you orient your print. Like you can print it upside down, whatever. Actually, yeah. That's a very valid point. Hey, thanks, Meandrithus. Much appreciated. Alright, so now we have to figure out which... We've got one corner that's like filled in on the gap here, and then one... So like if I cut off this corner, I'm hoping it fits better, but I'm not sure I know a good way to... That'll do it. Okay. Never mind. I was like, I don't know a good way to cut off a corner. Turns out I do. I'm hoping that that will fit better now. The answer right after these messages from our sponsors. So I've got a couple of sponsors. Anybody else you guys would like to see me kind of feature their products? I'm going to have to cut off way more. Man, I just might have to cut off. I'm thinking I might just cut off this whole tab. And just... Yes, so resin ones, there's a whole process. So when you print resin, it comes out dripping, literally dripping with uncured resin. You don't want to be touching the uncured resin. You don't want to be doing stuff. Whether or not the ventilation, that's largely up to how sensitive you are, stuff like that, what resin you're using. There's a lot of factors in how much ventilation, but you definitely don't want to use it in a tiny enclosed space. But the deal with resin is the more you're exposed to uncured resin, the higher chance that you have of developing a resin allergy. And if you develop a resin allergy, it can kind of make your life suck. Like, I would just not really want that to happen to somebody. So you need to be wearing gloves whenever you're dealing with it until... What I was about to say is I think we're just going to cut this whole tab off because it's making life harder than it's got to be. Or something. Or close to it if we don't cut it all off. I'm going to take a look at the model, and if it's a fault of the STL, I'll let Ian know that the STL has got this issue. You want to wear gloves. You really want to... A second, I'm trying to see if there's any... If I can use just a little bit of it even. My brain is trying to comprehend what I'm seeing. Okay. Yeah, you really want to give uncured resin necessary safety precautions. That's the... Looks like you're going to be an FDM man. Yeah, some people... I was an FDM man for a long time. Ultimately, what changed my mind, though, is there's just too many really nice pieces coming out that need to be printed, and to do them any sort of justice, they need an FDM printer, or they need a resin printer, because the 3D sculptors putting out all these models are just killing it. Like, I'm just absolutely shocked how amazing some of these pieces are looking. Alright, so it looks like this is shifted a little bit or something, because that doesn't line quite up. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this whole tab off. I have never smelled anything with my FDM printer. Huh. I would never have qualified it as having a smell. Interesting. But I don't have a particularly sensitive nose. What I'm doing right here is the downside of being the first person who ever prints and tests models. When you're working on a Kickstarter, and you're the guy who's the first person to ever print and test a model, then sometimes you end up with things that make your life more difficult. Alrighty, So yeah, now I can get a nice good fit there. All right, sweet. That makes me happy. We're just gonna rough this up a little bit. So whenever you are dealing with gluing joints, I'll tell you right now, there's three keys to having a good glue joint on any mini, right? So one of them is you need to test fit everything and make sure that it has a really nice clean fit before you do anything. Like, don't you just always want to dry fit first. You should never be the first time you put it together be when you glue it. So the other thing is you should sand or scuff up the joint with either a sanding stick or a file or something. Scuff the glue joint up because it creates additional surface area for the glue to bond with. The other thing that honestly you really want to do is you really want to make sure that the area is really nice and clean. That the area just has absolutely no particulates on it, no chemicals on it, that you just really want to make sure that the area is nice and clean. And to be honest, the absolute best thing to do that with when you're gluing up any kind of miniature is a little bit this is just a little bit of acetone. I keep some around for cleaning various things. And we're just going to take some on a Q-tip and we're going to clean both glue joints. If you're doing metal miniatures, then it's especially important if you... I'm trying to get the cap back on this acetone. There we go. If you're doing metal miniatures, it really helps a lot if you acetone the glue joint first, because it's just going to take anything off of it. So we're just going to take a little bit of acetone here. This is just going to make sure that we got any kind of oils or any little bits of the resin since we've been sanding. It's gonna, and because this is acetone and resin, it will actually, the resin dust, it will actually dissolve it a little bit, which is perfect. Okay, now we're gonna just give that half a second to dry here. And then we will glue it. You can vent a resin printer through a carbon print. Yep. I've read a lot about that. I've seen that. I just personally have not done it, but I know that that is possible. Okay. Okay. Now, when we go to glue things, I don't like the gel glue. I like the liquid glue mainly because if you use the gel glue and you squeeze out excess glue, what do you do with it then? Where does it go? Like, now you have excess glue to deal with. I mean, yeah, how do you get it off in a very clean way? It's almost impossible to do that. I like to put the glue on something else and then I spread it on the surface. The only time you're going to catch me using gel glue is if I just can't get a good fit on the mini otherwise. And yeah, if you've done all your steps and you have a nice clean fit and you scuff the surface area and then you clean the area with acetone or even high grade alcohol, if you've done all that, the liquid stuff will hold just fine. It'll be fantastic. Look at that. Isn't that a fun piece? That's gonna be great. I'm really hoping that line doesn't require me to fill any, because I really don't want to fill anything, because that's going to be a total pain to fill. But we really won't know about filling that line across the back there. See this line right here until we go to primer it. We're going to give that glue a little bit of chance to work. And I never put glue directly on the model. Every time I ever do that, not every time, but too often when I do that, I squeeze just a little too hard and then glue goes everywhere. So I will put glue on something else, and then sometimes I'll dip the part in the glue, or I'll use something to spread it. But it just, yeah, I'm not gonna risk a model putting glue all over it. Do I pen models? If I think it needs it, yes. Like this is so lightweight that I don't feel like I need to do that. The that's still there. The metal models, often I will pen. Penning models is like a whole, like, the only thing with penning models, you just have to have the right stuff. Like if you don't have the right stuff, like your life just sucks trying to pen a model. You need good quality bits, you need bits that match the right size of diameter rods that you're using. I really recommend, depending on what you're trying to pen, getting a 0.1 millimeter, a 0.2 millimeter, and even a 0.05 millimeter, because 0.05 actually works a lot for dark sword minis. So dark sword minis are always metal, and they often have these like really fragile glue joints, but they're like really tiny, like super tiny. And so you have to pin something. If you don't pin it, it'll fall off. There's one model I tried to build for like 2 years. I even ordered it's a $20 model, and I ordered it 3 different times because I couldn't get the dang hand to stay on. It was a hand on the end of an arm, but then the hand had this whole like flowing robe coming off it. So what would happen is if all you did was glue this hand right here, as soon as you put pressure on painting at all anything on the other end of this arm, the way the fulcrum was, it just put so much, it'd snap it off there every time. It didn't matter how gentle I was, snap it off every time. I tried epoxy, I tried freaking liquid nails, and I just could not get it. So finally I had to get a 0.05 millimeter rods, and pen. Green Stuff World sells some. I need to talk to Monument or Game Envy. They both sell hobby supplies. I need to see. I don't think if either of those has them, it's probably going to be Game Envy. Let me go look real quick. If Game Envy doesn't, I may hit Kit up and suggest that that's something. Let's go look right now. I always want to make sure the glue is just really good and dry before I do anything with it. And then we will figure out how we're going to hold that thing whilst we do it. I'm going to Game Envy's site right now. I don't have it set up to show you guys. I'm just going to check real quick to find out if they do. I don't think they do. Nope, they don't. Okay. So guys, make sure if you're interested in the hobby holder, which is one of these guys, it also comes with a big fun hook thing right here that some people really love. I think I'll have to go dig one out. I got one somewhere. The nice thing here is that the handle's really comfortable. You can screw them on bottle caps on and off. It works so freaking well. These are really popular for good reason. If you're interested in getting one of these or any of their other great products, make sure you look on one of the messages that goes by here. It tells you if you use a Spotted Painter, you get 10% off, which is fantastic. That's the coupon code. There's a Monument coupon code. We use lots of Pro Acryl, get 5% off there. Yay! Just so you know, not everybody's coupon code. So there's lots of people right now that have coupon codes for Monument. Not everybody's is 5%. Some people's is 2.5%. It depends on how many viewers they have, and how big in social media they are. So make sure if you're not using mine and you're using somebody else, make sure that you're aware of whether or not it's 5 or 2.5%. Somebody's actually paying me $50 just to pin their model. Like, the only bit of work that I'm doing on the model is pinning their model. Because he was talking about how he'd been trying to get it done and just couldn't get it pinned. And he's like, would you do it? And I was like, well, if it's as fiddly as you sound, I'll do it, absolutely. But, it's gonna take some time. There's a trick to pinning models, to getting the hole to be accurate. You drill the hole on one side. So I am finding new support marks to clean up here. You drill the hole on one side. On the other side, about where you think it should go. Did I just break that off? I think I just broke it off. Huh, that's okay. We'll figure that out. It's just a little spike here. So yeah, if you pin, what was I saying? I got distracted by that. I don't remember what I was saying. Does anybody remember what I was saying? I don't know. I think that's one of the trick to pin. Oh, the trick to pinning. Right, trick to pinning. So what you do is you put your hole on one side. Don't put a pin in it yet, just a hole. Take the opposite piece that you're going to... You know what? Let me see if I can demonstrate something here. Good way to do this? Sure, I think I can. Yeah, okay. We'll take this, and here we go. This is perfect. This is like macro scale pinning here, guys. Alright, so let's say that we were going to pin together this dice and this. We were going to pin that to that. So what happened is we drill a hole. Let's say this is the hole that we drilled. Okay? This. Don't put the pin in yet. Take the sticky tack, a piece of sticky tack, put it on the opposite side of whatever you think you're going to want to drill, of whatever you think you're going to want the hole to be. Make this a little wet. Use some of your water here because it won't stick when it's wet. Then what you do is line it up and then press it down. And now what you've got there, see that? You've got a perfect hole where your other hole was, so that those holes now match up. Then what you do is you take and you just drill through the middle of that hole. Okay? Then you've got two holes that will match up exactly. Then you put the pin in. And the holes will match up exactly. Otherwise, if you're just guesstimating this hole goes about here and this hole goes about here, it can be disastrous. So drill one side, sticky tack, wet the sticky tack, put the side down, and it'll show you where the hole goes. It's super helpful. That is basically the trick to pinning. I broke off a little tip of one of his things here, so I'm using a little bit of epoxy sculpt to just make a new little tip real quick. It's just the teensiest bit, and I honestly don't think you'd ever notice, but it would bother me. So I'm going to do it. Right? I thought that was pretty smart. Somebody taught that to me, or I got it on. I don't remember where I got that. I did not figure that out, though. I wish I could take credit for figuring that out. So, but yep, that is the trick to getting an accurate thing. So, epoxy sculpt. If you've only ever used green stuff for doing stuff, make your life easier. Go get some epoxy sculpt. It's 100 times better than green stuff. It also lasts a lot longer. In the end run, it's way more cost effective as well. What else? Oh, the big news is it's water soluble. Unlike green stuff is not water soluble. So what that means is that it will smooth and cure with water, as opposed to green stuff, which will not. And green stuff can be a pain in the butt to get how you want it. So I accidentally cut the end off of one of these. I was trying to cut a support knob, and I made one of my own rookie mistakes doing this. And that's whenever you cut, whether it's a mold line or a support nub or anything like that, whenever you cut into it, you always want to make sure that your blade is going. So like, here we go. If you're trying to cut something that's right at the end of this tip, all right, we're gonna bring it. Here we go. Okay, if you were trying to cut something that's right at the end of this tip, okay, here we go, that tip. Here we go, right here. Don't take your knife and cut this way, because what happens is it puts all the pressure on the end of this tip, right? What you want to do is take your knife and cut this way, because then it brings the pressure back this way. If you try to cut this way, it'll break the end of a tip off, whether it's resin or metal or a lot of different things, okay? So what you want to do is make sure that you cut the right direction, because I was stupid even knowing that and just haphazardly cut one of these tips off. That's not a big deal. What I'll do is I will get this built up with this enough, and then I will just come back in with a file and sand it to match the others. I just have to get enough of an end on there that's reasonably close that I can do that. And then once it dries, this stuff is fileable. Those mistakes happen. And honestly, even if I didn't do this, I don't think anybody would notice. Like, it's just such a minor thing. Alright, I think we're almost there. These are just brushes that are designed to smooth out this kind of stuff. They're silicone tipped brushes. They're available all over the place on the net, but honestly, the best price that I've seen for them is actually at Michael's. I got this set with the standard kind of Michael's coupon for like $2 or something like that. Alright, so tomorrow I'll just come and kind of make that be pointy. Alright, do we see anything else? Alright, now we gotta figure out how we're gonna hold this thing. Do we need to... Every time I look around, I just see one more little support that I missed. Question is, do we need to mount this something? How do we mount this something? The nice thing about this one is we had this nice spot where it went up through here and here, so I could drill deep and get a really solid mounting point. We don't really have anything like that here. The closest would be coming up like right here, but that's a pretty delicate point. So we might be forced. You know what I just realized? That place that I broke off is in a place no one is ever even going to see. I will build that up some other way if I think I need it, but that is not anywhere that anybody's ever even going to notice. Okay. I'm not going to worry about that then. So the question becomes, is there a good way to mount this on something? How big is this? I feel like I really, again, with this model, there's so many delicate points and it's got so many sharp points. I feel like if I try to hold the model, then I'm really going to be constantly fighting the scraping paint off the pointy bits. So I really don't want to do that unless I just have to. So I'm thinking if I drill, it sits like that. So if I drill right here and right here, I could actually, let me see if it, will it fit? Fit up here? Yeah. So if I drill right there and right there, it just barely fits right there. So let's do that. And then I can take this one off and use that to hold that. So what we're going to do is we're going to drill holes in the bottom of this. To put a couple of pins because no one's ever going to see these holes in the bottom. We can fill them in if we need to, right? But it's going to make painting it 100 times easier. So these are just kind of start points here. And then I think for this guy we used a big 2mm rod, but I think that's a little too big for this. So we're going to want a 1mm rod, which should be this stuff. So we've got a 1mm rod and a 1mm drill bit. And we're going to go to town. I think though, if I can I find the hole that I started? Didn't start very big. There we go. Depending on how quickly this goes, I may switch to an electric drill. Because I hate taking time on stuff like this if I can just do it faster. So I think I'm just going to start these and then break out the electric. They're going reasonably quick though. The deal here is to get any kind of good support, we're going to need to go a non-trivial amount in. But again, I really don't want to hold this unless I have to. So I think we're going to break out the drill. If I can find the drill. I think once we get this drilled though, guys, we may call it a night. Alrighty. Here is the drill. This is just a cheap, small portable drill with an adapter to hold small bits like that. And then I don't love it because the head wobbles a little bit. But if you start the hole, then it should be fine. The trick with using an electric drill is to not go too far. It's very easy to accidentally go too far and come out the other side. So you need to kind of have a sense of how far in you've gone. How far in is that? Okay. I think that's going to be good for that one. And then we come over here. Do the other hole. Ah, speaking of, I went too far. That's okay though. So what we'll do, luckily it's a very tiny hole, so that's not really going to be an issue. We've already got our putty out, so we'll just fill that hole, and not going to be a problem. It actually went between scales, so honestly, I'm not even sure if we got to fill it, if that will be visible at all. We will see. For right now, I'm not going to fill that and wait till I get primer on it, and then if I need to fill it, we'll fill it. We're going to take and we're going to use our airbrush just to blow any of that off. This is like right after I was like, you got to be careful so you don't go too far. The other side would have been a lot worse because it's not a textured side. I don't think you're ever going to see that. We'll have to see. Might fill that. Not a problem though. Alright, so then what we do is we give this little brass rod a little bit of scuffing. And then somewhere around here I've got something to cut this with, I think. This might work for this brass. I like brass because it's a little bit bendable, it's really soft. Some people use paper clips. I believe if you use a paper clip, what you want is a 0.8 millimeter drill bit, I think. And then I'm going to do a test fit down here. Yep, these work. And this, perfect. And then we will take and we'll put some glue on them. And then that's probably where we're going to call it a day, because whenever you pin something like that, you really want to make sure you give the glue a good chance to dry. Because if the glue doesn't dry on you, you start messing with it, then you just create all sorts of bad things. Put a little glue down there. Then we roll it in the glue and put it there. We take our other pin. This is one place sometimes if you don't have a real good matched set of bits, this is one place you might consider using gel glue if you don't have a good set of matched pins and bits. And then, yeah. Now we're ready. We can take this guy out. This guy was on a big long pole because he was heavy, so he needed that good support. So he was like that. Then we just drop this guy on. Do that. There we go. Now we can paint him. This is literally just a piece of wood split with some bolts in it. I use it to hold larger figures mostly. So, for anything that's a smaller figure that has kind of a flat base, I always use a hobby holder. But for a larger figure, yeah. All right, questions, comments, things you hate, things you love. I'm going to go ahead and put the other figure back on here for the moment because I might do a little bit of work with him afterwards. We'll see. Thanks, man. Much appreciated. I'm going to go ahead and put this guy back on for now. You can see he really holds this guy nice and secure. Like, and it gives me access to everything I need painting. If I want to, I can push this up and have him kind of in the air so that I get more under. Yeah. So having a big block of wood like this is really handy for mounting. Thanks, man. Thanks, low hauled. So, all right. Well, I think we're gonna call it a night. I've been going a little longer than I normally do, even. Thanks for watching. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask. If you like what you see, feel free to give us a follow. If you're not familiar with the giveaway that we're doing, hit exclamation point giveaway. There's some information there. If you're a subscriber, you win the giveaway. You get extra goody goodness, which is always fun. Yeah. Alrighty. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, have a wonderful night.